You think crisis staples are the safest thing you can keep tucked away, cheap, filling, reliable in an emergency. But what if I told you that some of the very foods people stockpile for survival can quietly turn toxic time bombs? We're talking about hidden threats like botulinum toxin, chemical leaching, and bacterial overgrowth dangers that don't announce themselves until it's too late. For anyone over 45, the risks climb even higher. A single serving of the wrong survival food could mean a blood pressure spike, kidney stress, or even a silent case of foodborne poisoning that your body may not be strong enough to fight off. And here's the worst part: you won't smell it, you won't taste it, but it's there. So which crisis staples could betray you the moment you open them, and which ones actually remain safe? Let's start with number 5. Number 5, bottled water. You twist open that old plastic bottle, and before you even take a sip, there's that faint plasticky odor rising up. It's not sharp, not sour, just chemical. Most people ignore it, chalking it up to stale water. But that smell is your first warning. For a lot of folks, bottled water has always been the picture of safety. For anyone over 45, it feels like a backup plan, something you can trust in the pantry when the tap fails. But the truth? Stored too long, especially in heat, bottled water can quietly transform from safe to a silent chemical cocktail. Here's why. Plastic doesn't just hold water, it bleeds into it. Studies show that bottles left for months in garages or hot sheds leach BPA and antimony. For seniors, those two compounds are a nightmare. BPA disrupts hormones, raising risks of prostate and breast cancers. Antimony stresses kidneys, slows down the heart, and piles extra work on already aging organs. And the invisible danger is what makes it terrifying. You won't taste BPA, you won't see antimony, but both flow straight into your bloodstream with every sip. In 2021, an Orb Media investigation tested bottled water from 11 major brands across 9 countries. The shocking discovery? Over 90% contained microplastics, tiny fragments now linked to liver stress, immune suppression, and even blood vessel inflammation. The World Health Organization has since admitted they can't guarantee bottled water is safe. Think about what's stacking up inside that bottle: BPA, microplastics, phthalates, antimony, each invisible, each capable of undermining your body. BPA hijacks your hormones, phthalates weaken your liver, antimony poisons your kidneys. Microplastics lodge inside your gut, triggering chronic inflammation that medicine can't easily reverse. It doesn't warn you, it waits. The betrayal cuts deepest because bottled water was marketed as pure. Europe has already issued stricter bans on BPA in packaging. Meanwhile, the FDA still shrugs. So what's the safer path? Glass-bottled spring water, heavy but reliable, stays stable in cool storage. Or better yet, rotate distilled or filtered water in BPA-free containers every 6 months. That way, your emergency supply doesn't become your body's emergency. And if you thought water was the most harmless thing in your crisis kit, just wait until you see the sugary staple at number 2. Number 4. Instant noodles. You tear open that shiny packet, and before the water even boils, there's that waxy, synthetic smell rising from the block. The noodles look harmless, quick, even comforting. But behind that smell is a chemical storm waiting to hijack your body. For many, instant noodles are tied to memories, college nights, quick meals after work, or cheap survival food in storage. But for anyone over 45, what once felt like comfort is now a dangerous trap. That little block and flavor packet can set off a chain reaction in your body you may never fully recover from. Here's the medical reality. One packet of instant noodles often contains 1,400 to 1,800 milligrams of sodium. For someone with high blood pressure, that's nearly an entire day's limit in just one meal. Sodium spikes force your arteries to harden and make your heart pump like it's climbing a hill with no rest. If you're on blood pressure meds like lisinopril, the effect is even worse. It counteracts your prescription, leaving you exposed. And the invisible threat? You won't taste the styrene leaching from cheap packaging. You won't see the propylene glycol added to keep noodles from drying out. You won't detect the ethylene oxide, a pesticide-linked contaminant flagged in recalls. But they're there. Each bite is laced with what your senses can't warn you about. In 2022, several popular noodle brands were recalled across Asia and Europe after regulators detected ethylene oxide, a carcinogen. Millions of packs pulled from shelves, yet many of the same brands remain on shelves elsewhere, untouched by US bans. Stack the ingredients, and you see the bomb: sodium, Mississippi G, trans fats, styrene, ethylene oxide. Sodium spikes blood pressure. MSG floods your brain, triggering headaches and nerve overstimulation. Trans fats attack aging arteries. Styrene disrupts hormones. Ethylene oxide, a cancer threat that creeps in silently. And the worst betrayal? Instant noodles are marketed as fast, filling, fun. But the fun ends when your kidneys can't flush the sodium, when your arteries can't handle the fat, when your hormones are thrown into chaos by invisible chemicals. So what's safer? If you want the comfort of noodles, stock rice noodles or soba. Add your own broth with low-sodium bouillon, herbs, or olive oil. Same speed, same warmth, without the chemical trap. And if you thought noodles were bad, just wait until you see the everyday spread at number 1, the one that can rot your liver without a single warning sign. Number 3, cooking oil. You grab that half-used bottle from the back of the pantry, twist the cap, and there it is, that faint, sticky, stale smell. The oil has turned a deeper yellow, maybe even cloudy. Most people shrug it off, thinking, oil doesn't expire, right? But that sticky residue on your fingers is more than just unpleasant, it's a sign of poison forming drop by drop. For decades, cooking oil meant comfort fried chicken on Sundays, pakoras during rainy evenings, or a splash in the pan to keep food from sticking. But for anyone over 45, old oil isn't comfort anymore. It's an invisible enemy. Stored too long, oil doesn't just go bad. It transforms into a toxic brew that silently attacks your cells. Here's the medical breakdown. Once exposed to light, heat, or air, oils oxidize. That means they form peroxides and aldehydes, unstable molecules that flood your bloodstream. For seniors, those compounds accelerate arterial plaque buildup, spike inflammation, and stress the liver. Add high cholesterol or diabetes, and rancid oil becomes the perfect storm for a heart attack. The invisible danger is the scariest part. You won't taste oxidation right away. You won't smell the free radicals. You won't see the aldehydes. But they're there, mutating healthy cells while you fry your safe meal. And the recalls prove it's real. In 2020, a major sunflower oil shipment in Europe was recalled after tests revealed high levels of glycidyl esters contaminants linked directly to cancer. The World Health Organization has already declared oxidized oils a global dietary risk, especially in countries where storage conditions are poor. Stack the toxins, and you see the bomb inside every old bottle. Peroxides, aldehydes, trans fats, glycidyl esters. Peroxides corrode cells. Aldehydes inflame your brain and arteries. Trans fats harden your heart's plumbing. Glycidyl esters? Pure carcinogen. No label warns you. No smell gives it away. It doesn't announce itself. It waits. The betrayal hits hardest because oil is everywhere, the base of survival cooking. Yet the very bottle meant to sustain you can shave years off your life if it's stored wrong. And here's the gut punch. Reheating old oil multiplies these toxins. Every reuse doubles the damage. So what's safer? Rotate oils every few months. Buy in smaller dark glass bottles to block light. Olive oil and avocado oil last longer if kept cool and sealed. Coconut oil is even more stable, giving you cooking power without the chemical decay. Because the truth is, in a crisis, the last thing you need is for your own pantry to quietly poison your heart. Number 2, corn flour. Scoop your hand into that bag of corn flour that's been sitting in the corner, and you'll notice a faint mustiness, almost sweet but stale. The powder clumps, dust rises, and you tell yourself it's just flour. But hidden inside that fine yellow dust could be toxins that no one sees until it's too late. For many, corn flour is survival itself: tortillas, bread, thick soups, a cheap filler that stretches meals. For anyone over 45, it feels like a safe, versatile staple. But left in storage, corn flour transforms from a comfort food into a ticking toxin, silently threatening your gut, kidneys, and even your brain. Here's why. Corn flour is highly susceptible to mold growth, especially when stored in warm or humid conditions. That mold produces aflatoxins, microscopic poisons that don't vanish in cooking. In the body, aflatoxins directly scar the liver, increase cancer risk, and trigger immune suppression. For seniors, where the liver already works slower, that damage builds quietly, meal after meal. The invisible threat is terrifying. You won't taste aflatoxins. You won't smell the contamination. You won't see the fungal toxins. But they're there, burrowed into every scoop. And once consumed, They don't leave, they accumulate. Real-world recalls prove it's not just theory. In 2019, the FDA flagged multiple cornmeal products for high aflatoxin levels, forcing nationwide recalls. In Africa, the WHO has documented thousands of hospitalizations tied directly to contaminated maize flour. These aren't rare events, they're constant battles against a toxin that flour loves to hide. Stack the dangers, and the list gets darker. Aflatoxins, pesticide residues, insect fragments, rancid oils. Aflatoxins cripple the liver. Pesticide residues strain the kidneys. Insect fragments introduce bacterial contaminants. Rancid oils inside the flour trigger inflammation and artery stress. Together, they form a chemical storm that no aging body can afford. It doesn't warn you. It waits. And here's the deeper betrayal. Corn flour has always been marketed as pure and simple, just ground corn. But simplicity doesn't equal safety. Once oxygen, moisture, and time mix, purity is gone. What you have left is a silent health hazard dressed as a pantry staple. So what's the safe path? If you must stock corn flour, freeze it to kill mold spores and extend its life. Vacuum-sealed bags kept cool and rotated every few months slash the risks. Or better yet, store whole corn kernels instead, grind them fresh when needed. Whole kernels resist mold far better than pre-ground flour. Because in survival, the food you thought was stretching your life might actually be cutting it short. Number 1. Fake or overheated honey. You open that old jar of honey tucked in the back of the pantry. At first glance, it looks harmless, thick, golden, maybe crystallized into sugar. You dip a spoon in, expecting sweetness. But what you don't see is that your liquid gold may have quietly transformed into a chemical trap. For generations, honey was called medicine, nature's miracle, the safest sweetener. For anyone over 45, it feels like a healthier alternative to sugar. But here's the betrayal. Much of today's bottled honey isn't honey at all, and even real honey, stored or heated wrong, can become toxic to the body. The medical problem starts with adulterated honey. Cheap imports are often cut with corn syrup or rice syrup, flooding your body with glucose spikes that wreck blood sugar control. For seniors managing diabetes, that's a recipe for nerve damage, kidney strain, and blurred vision. What used to be natural is now just processed sugar in disguise. And the invisible danger? You won't taste the added syrups. You won't see the missing pollen. You won't notice the chemicals. But every spoonful forces your insulin to surge and crash, wearing out your pancreas. Then comes the heat factor. Honey stored in hot warehouses or overheated during pasteurization develops hydroxymethylfurfuryl, HMF, a compound proven to stress the liver and damage DNA. Over time, HMF accumulates, raising cancer risks. Once again, you won't smell it, you won't taste it, but it's there. In 2022, FDA testing revealed that nearly 1/3 of imported honey samples were adulterated with syrups. In India and China, multiple brands have been caught selling honey with illegal antibiotics and pesticides. The World Health Organization has warned that adulteration and overheating destroy honey's protective properties, leaving behind a toxic syrup disguised as health food. Stack the threats and the list is ugly. Added syrups, antibiotics, pesticides, HMF toxins, syrups wreck blood sugar, antibiotics disrupt gut bacteria, pesticides strain your liver, HMF mutates cells. It doesn't heal you, it harms you. So what's safe? Raw, local honey stored in sealed glass jars at cool temperatures. Properly harvested honey never truly expires. If it crystallizes, that's natural. Gently warm it in hot water, never in boiling heat. And always check your source. Local beekeepers and trusted farms beat imported blends every time. Because in survival, the last thing you want is for your sweetest staple to turn into your body's bitterest poison. And if that shook you, just wait. Because the next pantry staple looks even more innocent, yet it can cripple your body without a single warning sign. Before we dive in, if you want the truth about what's actually safe in your pantry, hit subscribe right now and tap like so more people know what's hiding in their food. Now, let's talk about the silent killer waiting inside your next survival bag. Number 3, salt. You pour a little into your hand and it sparkles clean, white crystals that crunch between your fingers. Salt doesn't rot, it doesn't smell, it doesn't turn toxic with time. And in a survival pantry filled with cans that can spoil and oils that can go rancid, salt is one of the few staples that truly earns the word safe. For generations, salt has been more than flavor. It was currency, it was medicine, it was preservation itself. For anyone over 45 stocking a pantry, this one mineral is not just tradition, it's logical security. Because unlike processed foods laced with sodium overload, pure rock salt or sea salt stored dry can last forever without hurting your health. Here's the science. Pure sodium chloride is stable. It doesn't break down, doesn't host bacteria, and doesn't lose potency. While canned soups may hit you with 1,000 milligrams of sodium per serving, plain salt lets you control the dose. For seniors, that balance matters. Too much sodium spikes blood pressure, but the right amount restores electrolytes, prevents dehydration, and keeps nerves and muscles firing. And the invisible benefit? You won't see the trace minerals in natural salts. You won't taste the subtle magnesium or calcium, but they're there, quietly supporting your body in ways lab-made seasonings never could. History proves salt's staying power. In ancient Rome, soldiers were paid in salt, it was that valuable. And during countless famines and crises, salt was what kept meat, fish, and vegetables from rotting. Even the CDC notes salt remains one of the safest, most reliable preservatives in the world. Stack the positives and the picture is clear. Purity, stability, preservation, electrolytes. Salt stabilizes food. Salt prevents spoilage. Salt replaces what sweat takes away. And in a world where so many crisis staples can betray you, salt is one of the few that never will. So what's the safe path? Store non-iodized rock salt or coarse sea salt in airtight containers, away from moisture. A single 25-pound bag can outlast you not because it rots, but because it simply doesn't please it. Because in survival, some foods break trust. Salt never does. Number 2. Dry white rice. Open a bucket of properly stored white rice, and what greets you is nothing but a clean, neutral smell. No sourness, no rancid odor, no mold. Just simple grains, waiting. And in a survival pantry filled with risky cans and unstable oils, white rice is one of the few staples that actually earns your trust. For generations, rice has been the backbone of entire civilizations. For anyone over 45, it feels familiar, comforting, and easy on the stomach. But unlike flour that molds or beans that carry toxins when left raw, white rice, when stored correctly, stays safe for decades. Here's the science. Rice is low in natural oils. That means it doesn't turn rancid like whole grains or nut flours. Kept in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers, white rice can last 20 to 30 years without losing safety. For seniors, this is critical. No hidden mold, no invisible aflatoxins, no rancid fats to stress kidneys or arteries, just steady calories when you need them most. And the invisible benefit? You won't taste the slow-release carbohydrates. You won't see the easy-to-digest starch. But every serving stabilizes energy, feeds the brain, and avoids the sharp blood sugar chaos of processed survival snacks. History proves its stability. The U.S. Department of Agriculture confirms that properly stored white rice remains safe for decades. Preppers who've opened 2 5-year-old vacuum-sealed rice buckets report grains as clean and edible as the day they were packed. No recalls, no surprise toxins, just food security in its simplest form. Stack the positives and the case builds strong. Stability, digestibility, neutrality, longevity. White rice is gentle on aging stomachs, gluten-free for those with sensitivities, and flexible in recipes from soups to porridges. It doesn't hide poisons. It doesn't betray you in silence. So what's the safe path? Use Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, seal them inside food-grade buckets, and store cool and dry. Rotate every few years if possible, but know this white rice will outlast nearly everything else in your pantry. Because in a world where staples like oils, flours, and canned meats can quietly turn toxic, dry white rice remains the rare crisis food that stays loyal. Number 1. Crystallized raw honey. You twist open a jar of raw honey that's been sitting for years, and instead of smooth liquid, you find golden crystals, hard and grainy. Some people panic, thinking it's spoiled. But here's the truth. Crystallized honey is not only safe, it's one of the most reliable survival staples you can ever store. For centuries, honey has been called liquid gold. For anyone over 45, it's more than sweetener. It's medicine, comfort, and tradition. And unlike powdered milk that oxidizes or oils that go rancid, pure raw honey never truly spoils. Here's why. Honey is naturally antimicrobial. Its high sugar content and low water activity make it impossible for bacteria or mold to grow. Archaeologists have even found jars of honey in Egyptian tombs, thousands of years old, still safe to eat. That crystallization? It's simply the natural sugars binding together. Warm it gently in hot water, and it melts back to liquid. The invisible benefit is what makes honey remarkable. You won't see the antioxidants. You won't taste the enzymes. You won't notice the trace minerals. But they're there, protecting your immune system, soothing your throat, and even helping wounds heal. For seniors, this means real, low-effort support during illness or stress. Authorities back it up. The World Health Organization recommends honey as a safe, natural treatment for coughs. Medical journals continue to study its antibacterial and antioxidant effects, proving that honey is more than sugar, it's functional food. Stack the positives, and you see why it's a survival treasure. Natural preservation, immune support, wound healing, endless shelf life. Unlike fake or overheated honey, raw honey in glass jars keeps its power. Crystallization is not betrayal, it's proof of purity. So what's the safe path? Store raw honey in sealed glass jars, cool and dark. Don't fear the crystals, embrace them. In survival, when so many staples can turn toxic, honey stands unshaken. Because in the end, this is the one sweet that truly lasts forever. So, here's the truth. Your pantry can either be your shield or your silent enemy. Some crisis staples rot, spoil, or turn toxic without a single warning sign. But others, the few you just learned about, will stand by you when everything else fails. If this opens your eyes, don't leave your family's safety to chance. Hit like right now so more people can see the dangers hiding in plain sight. And tap subscribe because I'll keep guiding you toward the foods that actually protect, not poison. Your pantry shouldn't be a gamble. It should be your lifeline. Stick with me, and I'll show you exactly what's worth trusting.